Hi guys, I'm Hope I'm in there. This is Freaking Jeep and I'm John. I was working on, if you saw yesterday's video, I was working on this thing and that. We'll go over all that. But I mentioned that if you wanted to see how these bearings broke down, that I'd bring you a thing. A lot of people said, well, just fill it up with grease and that'll take care of the problem. It might have until the grease warms up and then you got flop again. So that's not really a good program. But I'll show you that these things here screw in, and there's tapered roller bearings in here. If you know what tapered roller bearings, and they're at an angle, okay. And as you squeeze them in, it takes up the clearance. I got a bearing, but it's this bearing down here as opposed to this bearing. This is off the top saw, which is I'm pretty sure the same as a double lot. Okay, that one there is a number 3. So the only difference is this shaft is a lot bigger. So let me show you that real quick, and you might find it interesting, might not, I don't know, but a few people said they were interested, and that's what we're doing, is just having a good time. Let's see, that is the bearing. That's the same thing as, okay, same thing as, there's one right down there. See it, you can kind of see it. That's one there. That's the small one. That's the small one. Okay, it's not clean and pretty because I'm not using it. That's how all these were when I got them. Anyhow, I'm gonna put my mittens on so I don't get terribly greasy. I'm also gonna zip up my coat. It is still pretty chilly out. I still have, even though we got a little bit of snow and it's supposed to get warm, we still have in the shady areas snow here because it never really got up to temperature. It's probably about, it almost has to be below freezing because that snow hadn't melted, and it's been there all day. Anyhow, the part that I did, okay, these have a ring that comes off. Okay, that was that ring that I took the, I can't see whether I'm in there, where I took that Allen set out, and that just goes over to this side, and then in there's a washer. Inside of here, there's just, I can't get it out without, let me go get a screwdriver. Always come prepared. You guys know that by now, don't you? I've been working on this nonsense on and off all day. I had some other stuff, and I don't get out to noon. This goes right on the bearing. So here's the bearing. And you can see right now, see how this slops through? Well, this part here clamps onto the, well, it slides up and down, in and out, any direction you need on the mandrel, if you follow that. This is the actual bearing in here. You can see the size of it. Okay, and there's 2 of them. One here and one here, and they go to each other. So if they get a little slop this way in play, then that transfers up to up and down play. This one, you can, I don't know if you can see that up and down play. Well, is what you do is you got it on the shaft and you got it where you want it. Then this goes in probably this way. It doesn't really make any difference on this one. Okay, and those bearings are pressed lightly on there. So when you change them, you want to get them on and get them centered. Then you put the other one in and you kind of center it back and forth. This here goes inside of here, so it goes on like that, but when you got it on, it goes inside. So you're actually pressing on this part on the bearing. You're not pressing on the shim. I'll stand it up. And then when it goes in, this goes down in and makes a seal around there. So now you put that on, okay? You put that on there, and this is a fine thread, but it seemed to go on pretty good. Then you bring those bearings in to where they're pretty even, and you have it where you have the shaft of the mandrel where you want it. Then when you tighten this Allen set screw or bull nose or whatever that was, I don't know what you call it. You saw it last night's show. This clamps it together, so it stays on that shaft where it is. And then see these, the only adjustments you have are these. So once that washer's in there that you're putting through there, then this can't undo. So all I did up there was tighten it 1 notch, then moved it down, and that's all it took to push it in that little bit. You can tell how much it pushed in if you want to measure those threads, but they're a fine thread. but you can count threads per inch. So note if you got one whole turn, you have one thread width. So that's how much you pushed it in. So that's the bearing. I hope you guys kind of understand what that is. If you don't know what a tapered roller bearing is, it's the same thing that's on these. When you want to get a sawmill, you want to have excuse me, tapered roller bearings in there. So this, if it gets any play, you can just tighten it up, undo the cotter pin, give it a little bit of a twist, maybe 1/8 of an inch, then put the cotter back in, and then it won't. See how these don't have any slop? Well, the older mills didn't have that, and they got all sorts of slop in the wheel. Once you get slop in the wheel, then you get basically what they call axle in play, and the carriage can go all over where it wants. Now, in my carriage in the back, I only have 3 axles, so it has tendency to duck walk. So one end will go in, then the other, and the other duck walk. That's why you want generally a four-wheeled or more than 3 axles. 4 axles makes it better, or whatever you got. So that was that's what that is. Now on these bolts here, I'm gonna have to take you off the stand, so it's gonna get shaky. On these bolts, I'm hoping that you can see it. See how I squared the washers off? I put it in the mill last night and squared all the washers off. Okay, so they all fit in there around that square to the radius that's in this thing. That one's squared off too, and there's 2 more back there. They're all squared off, so that's all in and in place. This shaft I started taking off. What was interesting, if I can get in here, is I don't think that you're going to be able to see that. Can you? Well, you can see the little spot there. I can catch that in the camera. Between here and here, this was actually, if I can move it, I gotta put it back in place here. Okay, it's back in place now. But as you turn it, can you see that flat in there? This thing had been that way for a long time and rubbing on this wheel. I really don't think that that's going to make a bit of difference in this thing, because you have 2 5/8 bolts there and 2 5/8 bolts down here, and the same in the back. And then you have this structure up here, then you have that structure in there holding it in place. I think this was probably more meant to keep it in place when you're moving it or installing it or something to that effect. Maybe it helped you out that way. If I find down the road that it makes a difference, I would have to increase the size of those blocks 4 inch to maybe 5 inch to get over this. And this is not quite, these are supposed to be level, so it's supposed to be there to start with. Okay, these things are your forward, backward. Excuse me. Anyhow, so when it comes up, I guess it's hitting when you get here. So if you moved it up 1 inch, it'd probably take that off. And I could do that because I'm all the way run out on these bolts here that raises that whole section up. So, but that's down the line. So that was one of the 4 things I did yesterday. I tightened that assembly up there. You might be able to see the washer in that up there now. I gotta move around some of this non-stuff. You might be able to see the washer in the Allen set that I was talking about just a minute ago. Let me see here. That you can see the washer in there, I'm sure. I can turn that. I'm not going to turn the bearing, but the Allen set went up here and then clamps this down. So once you have this mandrel left and right where you want it, then it clamps down. Now you still have to set the lead on it with this way, or you can set the lead on it that way. You can set the levelness of it. You should be setting it with a machinist level, but for now, just to see how close I am, I put this on there, and for just a regular old carpentry level, that's pretty much all right. But I'll put a machinist level on it when it comes down to the final adjustment of it. And you still won't know until you get into a cut whether it's in direct line with this, because this blade, what they call stands up, so it should move over just a hair once it starts coming up to RPM. So I forgot my magnet. It should change position once it comes up to RPM. And you know, you can sit here in the front here and eyeball the 2 blades and see once they come up to RPM if it's right or not, but I don't think you'd ever, until you get into a log, you're never going to know. And you're not doing it for finished lumber anyway. You're doing it just to break the log down. Once you get down to your magic number, which is 23 on this mill, you don't need that top saw anyhow. So, and if right now, if I put that top saw on, I can't saw anything over 23 inches tall anyway, because it hit the saw and I don't have it hooked up. The next thing I'm doing, like I said, was taking this out, but you can't go that way without taking the blade off. I don't think. I mean, maybe it looks pretty close. Maybe I can. I kind of don't. I think I kind of looked at that yesterday, but while we're here, I'll put you guys back in this stand and make sure. I kind of don't. Ooh, there goes that funny leg. There. I'm going to try to pull that bar out. I'm pretty sure it hits that blade. So I got to go the other direction. I've got it loosened. Oh, man. It'd be nice if I could get that out. If not, I got to drill a hole in the step frame over there. Yeah, hits the blade. So I kind of thought it did. Ouch! Daggone, that thing just bit me. It slid in and my finger went in the hole there. You ain't working right if you ain't got bleed. Anyhow, the next thing that I'm working on down here is, and this is all to get this structure on for the overhead chain. And from the looks of it, I think I might have enough clearance over that blade to do this. That's all I'm doing. So I made this bracket here. I got one hole in it. The reason I'm using that hole is because there was a hole in the frick husk. I have to drill another hole here, 3/4 inch hole. This bolt happens to be 3/4. And then I want to raise it up so it gets that bottom section out of the dirt. I'm going to raise it up. These holes here, I think you can see them right here and right here are supposed to be down here, and there you can see holes over there for this, but it just won't go there because the way this top saw is rigged. I might be able to move over a little bit further, but then I'll get out of my support here. So I kind of don't think so. I got to have this piece just that side of that bearing there, because I'm still have to put something back here and pull this in. So I'll probably drill another hole here, another hole here. Now I'm going to drill this bracket up higher to raise this up an inch. So I'll take that out and make everything square. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now to get that done. I know that I need this to get up to about an inch below the top, and that should get it up to get it out of. See, it's down in the ground down there, but I'll dig some of that out too. That kind of puts it in front of the saw a little bit further than I like. If you see it over here, but most of the sawdust that comes off generally comes off in this direction. It doesn't come off and go straight down. So that might be a good spot for it. So you can see it's just about in line with the shaft that's on this piece right here. That's the feed works. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm going to pull this apart, try to drag that out, and get some holes drilled in that, and maybe get a little bit of work on it tomorrow. Then I got to bring my generator up, that new generator I got. I kind of marked over there. You can see, maybe you can see. Can you see that? Where I got to drill a hole to take that shaft out, so that'll get out of the way. And then if it wants to run it, it should be all right. And I'm still working on this piece here. So drill 2 holes, 4 holes in that. I'll take them up and use the mag drill for that. I'll probably just use the regular electric drill for that hole there. Kid's got my battery drill, but that's a 3/4 inch. The battery drill won't take a 3/4 inch. In fact, I think it's neck down to 1/2 inch. I guess it would, but those Milwaukees just don't have power like the old Milwaukees, so that would never do it. So we're coming along. The 4 things are done, or about done. Working on the bracket, got all those bolts in, got the mandrel nut in place. I got the whatever I just said. I don't even remember what all I said. Anyhow, and you saw how the bearing worked, and it's cold out here. Cold out here. So I'm going to call that a wrap. Maybe in a minute I'll call it a wrap. It's a muddy mess down here. You can see where I'm kind of sneaking in around the side, but you can kind of see how gushy it is. You can see the wetness. Maybe you can't. I think you might be able to see the wetness there. So I can't get out because I got a lot of wood I want to get split. So it's got to dry out a little bit more before I get into that. So sun's down, time to go in and maybe poke around the kitchen and get something to eat. I do that good. So I'm glad you came along. I hope you understood about the bearing. If you got any questions more about that mandrel bearing, give me a holler or leave a comment down below on the mandrel bearing. And if you got any other questions about where I am in this, I think I told you I will be putting a drop of fingernail polish on these so I can see where it's at, so it'll always be lined up. I got to look through my Frick books and see what that hole there and that is there, but those aren't through holes. I can't figure out what those are, to be honest with you, unless they moved all this stuff here. See, maybe they moved that back to compensate for getting out of there, except for you have access to this hole, and this is a threaded bolt there, which would hold a pin in place. But then you don't have the ability, if that was opposite. Now, I'm not sure that this isn't some kind of makeshift mandrel that somebody put together, because you don't have a left side and right side. These are both either left sides or both right sides. And I'm still looking in books, but like I said before, a friend of mine's got the books on this, and I got what I got, and that's the way it is. And this is still work. So thanks for coming along. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Leave me any comments if you got any questions on some of this nonsense that's here. I might be able to answer you. So it's kind of putting along. Like I said, the only reason I'm doing this is so I know that this will go on and don't have to take it out later. So thanks for stopping in. We'll see you later now. Bye-bye.